Namaste! The Denon Perl Pro are very close to being the perfect audiophile buds, and other audiophile companies need to take a cold, hard look at themselves.
Did we say perfect? Well, the Denon Perl Pro are close to perfect. So we have two issues or problems with these otherwise perfect buds. We'll come to issue number 2 later on, but the biggest problem is the price, $349. Now we have to say this is relative. There are Bluetooth buds that we have reviewed on this channel that are much more expensive, and some we have not that are much more expensive. And you know what, the ones we have reviewed at least do so much worse on so many other aspects. So if money is not an object for you, then this is a no-brainer, at least from that perspective. Let's dig into the features.
And let the digging begin with the app. First of all, you need to make an account to use the app. You know how we hate that, but that's not the worst of it. You need to keep logging in. It just keeps logging you out. So no idea why that happens, but hopefully that gets solved with a software update. And in the fields that you need to fill in to make that account, age is mandatory. Gender is not. What's going on? Well, there's actually a reason why this information makes sense. We'll come to that a little bit later. Then let's talk about the app's user interface. It is a bit confusing, guys. There's a slider for bass, for example, but to the left of the slider is the social mode and to the right is the spatial mode. Two things that do completely separate things.
Now, in terms of multi-point, these can connect to two devices at one time, expected. But a special thing that these earbuds have that I've not seen on too many others is that you can just resume music or audio on the second device without having to fish out the first device and hit pause. So for example, if you're listening to music on one phone and that phone's somewhere far away, and if these buds are connected to a laptop, you can just hit play on your laptop. That phone stops playing music or pauses and the laptop resumes. And the best part was this usually works with two phones sometimes, but we saw that this even worked with like a browser on a MacBook Pro and a phone. So that's a unique combination that usually gives problems, including the music takeover feature, as Denon calls it. Now this is really the dream when it comes to multi-point. Could it get better? Yes, maybe connect to 3 devices at once like Technique's AZ80 does, but this feature called music takeover is implemented pretty well. And the best part, if it causes problems like these features sometimes tend to do, not in our case, you can disable it in the app. Really well done. And of course, there's another classic called pull connection, which we love, which means you just put the buds in your ears, long press both buds, it goes into pairing mode, and you can connect from a third or a fourth device that you previously paired to these buds. You don't have to go to the existing device and disconnect. So in terms of multi-point, it's really a good feature set. You can also see the list of connected devices in the app. Pretty sweet. What else? Auto pause. It uses an optical sensor and it works very reliably. It can also be customized to work when only one bud is removed or both. Know that this is an optical sensor, so it just senses light and it's not a skin sensor like the AirPods Pro uses.
Okay, the active noise cancelling and transparency mode. First of all, these are not adjustable. There's no sliders or modes. It's just on or off. That's it. For ANC, we slotted them in at tier A. They're very similar to the Sony LinkBuds S for us, but they're a bit better. So in terms of transparency, or social mode as Denon likes to call it, they're very close to having no earbuds in at all, but there is less clarity in the mids and highs than the Sony LinkBuds S, for example. So we'd say they're very similar to the AirPods Pro, but they eliminate low-end sounds a bit more. Also, there's plenty of hiss and white noise in transparency or social mode, which we're not a big fan of in quiet conditions. If you're out and about, this is going to be fine and you're not going to notice it as much. So for transparency, we slotted in at tier A as well. So overall, guys, these buds are tier A for active noise cancelling and transparency.
What about phone calls? The Denon Perl Pro advertises a bunch of microphones, 4 on each side, including 2 bone conduction microphones. Weirdly, on calls, there's no separate settings for touch. So in my case, I set it to volume control and ANC mode change for audio, and those settings get transferred over to phone calls, which was different. So I could not answer or hang up. So that was a bit strange. If you know how to do it, do leave a comment down below. It'll help me. But when it comes to microphones, we are all about the popsicles, the icicles, and the test.
Popsicle, ice, icicle, testing, 1, 2, 3.
How did the calls do? Surprisingly good. I also actually called Kevin in those very windy conditions, and even though it wasn't something Kevin enjoyed, I was surprised to know that he could even hear me at all. And it's the same for noisy conditions. Overall, very impressed with the microphones on Denon. Most audiophile buds get these kind of basics wrong, but Denon seems to know what they're talking about.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about the build, the design, the comfort, and the fit of these buds. Now, when you first look at these buds, they look odd, but they look worse than they are because the big discs don't actually come anywhere close to the ear. Instead, there's this kind of groove that locks into the inside of the concha, which for me was okay. The right ear sat perfectly, whereas the left ear needed adjustment every hour or so. Not the most comfortable earbuds, but your mileage may vary. You do get 2 wing tips in the box and 4 sizes of silicone tips: extra small, small, medium, and large, plus 1 set of foam tips. But why only 1? Anyway, the buds are also IPX4 water resistant. No dust resistance here, guys.
Now the buds are water resistant, but the case itself isn't. Wireless charging is on board though. The case is solid plastic, Master and Dynamic style 3 LED indicator, 1 LED for the case battery status and the other 2 for the individual buds battery status. So red, green and whatever indicate how full the battery is. Now neither of the LEDs is obviously colorblind friendly because you get 1 LED indicating one status. Other than that, remember we said that there were 2 issues. Well, the second one, again a minor one in our opinion, is battery life. And it's not even that much of an issue. Look, when we tested the battery life on these buds, we got 5 hours and 42 minutes with noise cancelling on, and the advertised is 8 hours. Close to 6 hours is still good, so it's not like the battery life is terrible. For us, it was just the dissonance between what was promised and what we actually got. That delta seems to be kind of big. But 6 hours, I'm not going to complain about that. Now, quick charge. 5 minutes gives you 1 hour of charge, as Denon says. Based on our battery test, it would be probably a bit less, but still you have quick charge on board. So in terms of, again, in terms of charging, wireless charging, speed of charging, charge it holds, you're really covered with these buds, and you can get 3 charges from the case. So no complaints again.
And if you haven't noticed already, the buds are controlled by touch. And these controls are fully customizable. There are 4 gestures you can customize on each bud. They're single tap, double tap, triple tap, and double tap and hold. So weirdly, there's no long tap. We found the touch fairly responsive, and you also get auditory feedback through different tones, similar to how the Sennheiser Momentum 3 does it, which is great. And then there's the sound. In one word, clear. Not the audio company clear, just they're clear. You get it. Anyway, these support aptX lossless, aptX adaptive, aptX classic, AAC, SBC. So plenty of codecs to choose from. There's excellent instrument separation and so much space. While testing this with Polyphia's Goat, every instrument is clearly present. Stock tuning is V-shaped. The vocals do sometimes get buried under the bass when listening to something like Billie Eilish's I Think, Therefore I Am. There are EQ settings in the app. There's a couple of presets plus a 10-band graphic equalizer. And there's also sound customization, which we'll come to in a little bit.
What about the bass? Well, it's punchy and it's very well controlled. It is a bit turned up in the mix, but the drivers are very capable. The sub bass and the mid bass are clearly separated. However, after boosting it using the EQ, I thought it became a bit much and almost went into woolly and undefined territory. I would not boost the bass because it has enough to begin with. But it does have another mode, which is actually a slider in the middle called immersion mode. It should just be called a mid-bass bump mode because we tested with immersion on, maximum and minimum, and here are the results on your screen. So this is for immersion mode on -3, which is the minimum. Here's the immersion mode on 0, which is off, and immersion mode on +3, which is the maximum. Do you see a difference? Yeah, that's what we thought. From bass to mids, voices sound very good. Sometimes there's a bit of a metallic timbre in the stock tuning. Stock tuning, we'll come to the personalized tuning in a bit. That's the game changer on this one. And treble is very good overall, but in some cases, S's can be a bit spiky. I tested Chili Wax Fly By Night and the voices did have that kind of sharper S. but the timbre on guitars, you know, the acoustic guitars sound exactly like you would expect from a piezo and a microphone combination pickup. So very nice. Instrument separation, it's the best I think I've heard on this form factor. Soundstage was nice and wide, and the spatial audio uses the Dirac virtualizer, which is a very popular algorithm. So it's also pretty decent, but the real game changer here is the sound personalization. It's completely automatic. That's insane. All it does is plays frequency sweeps and it analyzes itself how you hear. No human interference. It's not even a question as to how did you find this tone, can you hear this tone, did you prefer this tone? Nothing. So based on that, I think it's a very low error, and as Scott said, we are DHRME, don't hurt Rohan's mighty ears. So if you made it this far, consider doing the subscribe or like thing. We cover a ton of products and we promise to not take ourselves too seriously. So for my mighty ears, the personalization picked up the exact frequencies that my audiologist analyzed as me being less sensitive to. Yes, it was a doctor who analyzed it, and these, without any input, without any fancy, you know, equipment, it got it exactly right. That's mind-blowing to me. And the EQ it spat out, it compensates exactly for the frequencies I'm missing or I'm less sensitive to. That's awesome. And that is, for me, really the promise of smart tech. It actually personalizes a product and makes it the best product for you. And the Denon delivers that in spades. For me, the personalization removed all the issues I had with the stock sound. Okay, maybe not all. It made the sound a wee bit darker, and that suggests to me that maybe the higher treble analysis wasn't quite perfect. But overall, this is really the best implementation of personalization that we have seen. An EQ for your ears. As Arthur C. Clarke said, any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic, and this really feels magical to me. Overall, one of the best sounding true wireless earbuds I've tested, period.
Would we recommend the Denon Perl Pro? Many a times we come across audiophile buds that are lacking in something, and usually that thing is reliability. We're very happy to say that the Denon Perl Pro bring the sound, and to be honest, we didn't expect any less. But more importantly, these are also just good all-round buds. From the performance on ANC, transparency, multi-point and phone calls, to the build, controls, and the app, the Denon Perl Pro have been requested by you guys for a reason. This is how audiophile companies should make wireless earbuds, and not complain that we didn't review them right. You know who you are.
Thank you guys for making it to the end of this video. None of this is possible without you guys and your support, especially you YouTube members and patrons. And a special shout out to our Fakman tier patron Gamma Panda and our Fakman tier YouTube members Hunter and Paula. You guys are awesome, and we would not have been able to do this without you. You've been marveling at this Pearl.
And we've been DHRME.
Dewey. When it comes to microphones, we are all about the popsicles, the icicles, and the testing of various devices in CES 2024.
Namaste.
Most audiophile buds get these kind of things wrong, but most audiophile buds get...
Okay, the active noise cancelling and transparency. These...
And after boosting it, however, after boosting it using the EQ...
So